Austin Reaves, a potential $241 million man with a bowl haircut. A surprise target for the Dodgers surfaces on day one of baseball's winter meetings, and USC continues to inch its way up the college football playoff standings. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It's November 12th, 2025. Welcome back to the Half Star Hotel in my final week of work over in Mini Scrotum. It's a lovely morning. Hey, do you like being in the know about LA sports? Well, if you do, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a quick look at the scoreboard. The Kings, 5. Montreal, 1. It's not enough. I've always hated the Canadians. Anyway, that's another story for another time. Lakers at Oklahoma City today at 6:30, and Denver's at the Clippers at 7:30. Here is a shocker for the Clippers. Bradley Beal is out tonight. So, with that out of the way, what do you say we get a head start on the news? Because there's lots to discuss. ESPN published a long piece about Austin Reaves and how much his value rose when the Lakers didn't have LeBron James or Luka Doncic for a few games. You remember it. It was kind of amazeballs how Reaves just couldn't stop scoring, couldn't stop facilitating. Because for a dude, you look at Austin Reaves, and for a dude who looks like he ought to be playing banjo with Kermit the Frog on a moss-covered log somewhere in the Everglades, Reaves was ballin'. Now, I want to say that reading numbers doesn't always resonate when you hear them, whether it be on a podcast or a YouTube clip. So I do want to give you some basics to give you an idea. When Reaves was offered $19.5 million by the Lakers during the offseason, that would have been more than a 2,000% raise from his rookie season. So it's not like the Lakers are trying to screw the guy, right? But the Lakers already knew that was going to get turned down. Why? Because you're looking at $19 million a year when he could be signing a contract for as long as 5 years, $241 million this summer. Now let's assume the Lakers don't offer that and he decides to go somewhere else. Well, other teams can't match that. They can go as high as $4,178.5 million. It's true that the new owner, Mark Walter, has money on top of Bitcoin, on top of the $640 million in untraceable bearer bonds from the Nakatomi Corporation vault that Hans Gruber keeps trying to steal. So yeah, can he afford it? Sure can, but that's when the salary cap jumps in. Look, if Reaves does sign for that max, his first season with this theoretical new $241 million deal would account for 25% of the Lakers salary cap. And therein lies the rub. We should all pause. Would you commit that amount of money against your salary cap limit? Now, an Eastern Conference GM told ESPN, quote, AR's a stud. If I were the Brooklyn Nets, I would throw all the money at him. He has shown when he gets the keys to the engine, he can produce, unquote. So in a nutshell, yeah, you'd like to keep Austin Reaves, but is there a workaround? There's only two. One, Austin Reaves cuts them a break, maybe somewhere between the 178 to the 241. Or the Lakers try to figure out some analytical way to work around this. And let's be honest with ourselves. The Lakers have not exactly been analytical in their thinking. We won't see LeBron James on this road trip, by the way. We've already established that a few days ago. But in a surprise, we might actually see their only draft pick, Adu Thero. JJ Redick said he's hopeful that the forward, who has not played since he hyperextended his left knee while at Arkansas, will get on the court during the final 3 games of this road trip. The last 2 games for the Lakers, they're playing the defending champs tonight, obviously. Then come the last 2, which would come back to back. So it seems more likely that the kid would make his debut then. He didn't play in summer league. He didn't play in training camp, which totally sucked. Because when he didn't play in training camp, that gave the scribes all the more reason to lie to us about Bronny James's alleged development. So, for those of us who don't overload on college basketball, who wouldn't dream of studying anything about Arkansas, what you should know is Thero is a wing prospect who the Lakers want to develop into a 2-way player. Meanwhile, baseball's winter meetings opened at the swanky Cosmopolitan Hotel over in Las Vegas. And before I continue, a side note, if you ever do go to Vegas, here is a pro tip. The Cosmopolitan is perhaps the only luxury hotel in Vegas with balconies, which I don't know, might make them ideal for, just saying. Not that I would partake. I have to take drug tests all the time. But a friend held my bachelor party there. It was a really nice gesture, right? So there I am, sitting in the corner with a bottle of Jameson, begging my wife for nude pics on the phone. Meanwhile, the party was on the balcony. The place smelled like somebody lit Paraguay on fire, but I digress. Back to the winter meetings. Tommy Edman will undergo right ankle surgery next week, and he should be ready for spring training. GM Brandon Gomes said the ankle had been bothering Edman since before he was traded to LA by St. Loser about 1.5 years ago. Meanwhile, we're also learning of potential Dodger targets with actual sources in the articles. So this is an upgrade, right? It's more than just scribes looking for a cheap byline. The pulling of the names out of the scribes' butts. That didn't happen yesterday, finally. For example, The Athletic reported that the Dodgers have targeted former Yankees closer Devin Williams. If this is true, if the sources are right, it would mark the second consecutive year the Dodgers have tried free agency to find themselves a closer. We already know how last year's additions went, right? Williams is a 2-time National League Reliever of the Year with Milwaukee, but he lost the closing gig in New York this year. I'm going to suggest something that would probably make you want to bludgeon me with a crowbar. Closer by committee, even with all that money. If Tanner Scott can find any of his mojo in the offseason, he's a lefty, then you got Williams, a righty. That would be pretty hardcore if and only if somehow Mark Pryor stumbles upon the way to get them back to anything like they used to be. Gomes did, by the way, say Scott was in the mix to close next season. Feel free to start cringing. I read about 6 accounts of the winter meetings trying to gauge if the Dodgers have any real interest on free agent outfielder Kyle Tucker, because after all, that's the name that everybody keeps linking to the Dodgers. Do they have any sources? Nope. So, what do the scribes say now that they have been talking to the sources? That nobody can say if the Dodgers even have any interest. Which tells me nope. Just saying. Gut feeling is the plan is to try to rebuild the bully and find a corner outfielder through some other method than the oft-injured Kyle Tucker. You don't always have to get the guy in free agency. Many teams have rued that decision. USC football has risen to 17th in the college football playoff rankings. They have edged up 2 spots. Now, this is still a long shot bid, right? They have to sweep the rest of the season. That would also include Oregon. But how they're doing it is what interests me. You see, because, for example, nobody seems to be getting a beat on what they're doing to edge up and get these wins. Fox Sports, for example, falsely claimed that schools that left the Pac-12 for the Big Ten are adapting to the run-first offensive style. Oh, the Pac-12. All they did was throw the ball all over the place like it was flag football. What a bunch of weenies. They're going to get curb stomped for years. And it caught me off guard because in at least 2 cases, it's not true. Oregon had been gravitating away from the spread offense for years, for example. And by the way, there's USC. Okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Trojans came to the Big Ten ready-made. They needed to change their recruiting. They needed to get more beef on the defensive line. And I will also concede that one of the biggest mistakes that the program ever made was to allow Clay Helton to abandon the run. But that was just what? Where do you put that on the never-ending list of stupid ideas from Clay Helton? But don't act as if Lincoln Riley hates running the ball. Don't act like that. Riley is the first coach across college football to unlock power running in the air raid offense. Check my receipts. I talked about it a couple of years ago on this channel. And it amazes me that nobody else has added GT counter to their playbook. Moreover, the top 20 rushers in the 18-team conference include 2 USC running backs. Waymon Jordan, who has missed an entire month. He's still in the top 20, guys. And by the way, King Miller, who became the lead back after Jordan was carried off the field. In other words, if it was only one lead back, USC would be killing it. The Trojans average, by the way, 200 rushing yards per game. This is not slowly adapting. And it's not surprising that the Trojans are this effective at all. So no, the Scribe did not build a case about how, slowly but surely the Pac-10 is figuring it out. Even UCLA has a back in the top 20. That would be their quarterback, Nico Imaliva. And the Bruins, by the way, average 160 rushing yards a game, which isn't exactly that bad. It is not bad at all. You could still question UCLA's toughness to an extent. Look to the defense. The Bruins are buck naked last in the nation in sacks and tackles for loss, per the LA Daily News. So, the Scribe didn't use his head. But speaking of UCLA, early signing for high school recruits is less than a month away. And I just mentioned how maybe UCLA needs to toughen up on the lines. Early signing cannot come soon enough because they still have 2 major building blocks in the fold. They just need to get them signed. Defensive lineman Carter George from Massachusetts and offensive tackle Michael Smith from Florida. Both considered in the top 100 in respective recruit rankings. But, they pledged to UCLA back when Deshaun Foster was the head coach. So, as much as I hate to talk about minors in this program, here's an update on both of them if you're a UCLA guy. 4 programs have been whispering into Georgia's ear about dumping UCLA. Now, unfortunately, one would be Penn State, which also fired their coach, which puts them in the same situation that the Bruins are in. 24/7 Sports reported 2 of the other suitors for the defensive lineman are in the SEC. As for Smith, He's saying all the right things about staying with UCLA, but he recently visited Ole Miss in Tennessee. The Galaxy have one more match this season, which means, of course, next to nothing. They've been eliminated from MLS. We don't even know what the hell they're going to field when they play Club America of Liga MX on Saturday. Now, this gave Greg Vanney one last time to try to sell the LA Times about how confident he is that the Galaxy will be so much better in 2026. But what the hell did you expect him to say? He's been pitching this line all year long, ever since the Galaxy started off the season by not winning 16 consecutive MLS matches. 16! They went from MLS champions to having the worst season in franchise history. I don't know about you, but I've totally had it with the gaslighting from this guy. Oh, it kind of sucked that we were winless in our first 16 MLS games this year, but we were one game over 500 for the last 25 games. Man, if you spend half the year at the bottom of the septic tank just getting one nostril over the sewage line in the second half is not an answer. It's not progress. The Galaxy absolutely have to come correct. In today's edition of The Internet Sucks Ass, there was a fake story alleging that USC forward Chad Baker-Mazara, who's gotten off to a terrific start, he's averaging 19 points per game, was suspended. A Twitter account clearly labeled parody multiple times, not that this is particularly amusing, claimed that Baker-Mazara demanded more NIL money and then launched at Trojans coach Eric Musselman. And people bought it. Hardy har parody accounts. Laughed till I puked. It took the LA Times to get involved and calm the waters. And I suppose I was annoyed for a moment until I realized, wait, that meant people cared. I'm not the only one who cares about USC basketball, guys. I'm not alone anymore. Thank you, fake news websites. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about what you would do to try to keep Austin Reaves. Or if you think the Lakers can find a way to replace him, even if they let him go. For that matter, what were your thoughts on opening day of winter meetings? And if you enjoyed the update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortell Queso production. Take care.